Alright, welcome, hello. It is ogre time indeed. Yes, that's right folks, we've got ogres. What this is, a little tournament I put together today. Not too many people joined, but that makes it nice and quick. Get to the action. We're now in the semifinals here with okay, that's wrong. Let's switch that back real quick and let me put in the actual correct player names here. I've got Spudhouse versus Ice Power up first. So welcome. Yes, just getting this fixed real quick. Definitely should have done that beforehand. I thought I had everything prepared, but indeed I did not. So there you go. Super professional today. Oh, Ice Power's actually in the correct place. And then here we've got still TBD in the other bracket. But we'll get started with this one. And okay. We can go ahead and get this going now. You guys can see the bracket. Oh yeah, Carl there next to the ogre. Just a true thing of beauty, honestly. Whew, right, it is hot today. Yes. We'll see how it goes. Looks like up first we've got a little bit of Dark Elves versus Lizardmen, so should be all good. Okay, just let these guys know I am good to go. And we'll get over to it. And you know what, actually, let me real quick just switch these two here like so. Make them on the appropriate sides of the bracket. There we go. True professional today. Yes. There it is. There it is, in all its glory. Dancing Warzag. I honestly should have got a ogre blocker, but you know, Dancing Warzag's just such a classic. Yes. Let's see what they can do. Ogres. Yeah, ogres will be a factor today. So basically, we're using the updated banner rules. I wanted to give a shout out early on to Xiphos and Felcon. Felcon's kind of the one spearheading the effort. Xiphos was the one kind of just doing the grunt work of editing the file, which he was doing before for Arrow, and now he's continued to do. So we've got an updated version of the banner rules, which is nice. And in addendum today, ogres are explicitly allowed. And what that means is, you know, they still fall under the general restrictions of what they would, right? Max for the same, you know, different weapon variants, all that stuff. Missile units, obviously. Man-eaters count as missile units. But, yes, ogres allowed. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll see some ogres today in action. You won't typically see them just because this isn't going to be a normal kind of tournament rules set that you'll see. I don't know. I may occasionally run an ogre open just for fun. If this turns out well, we'll see if the ogres are in an interesting place. I mean, the cheaper ones are definitely very good. The expensive ones they're good in some ways. They're very strong, but I don't know. I still need to figure out how to use them 100% effectively, and given that they're relatively expensive and low armor, they can get taken out somewhat easily. But let's see what we got here. Ice Power is streaming his side, so I'm really not too worried about giving away comps, whatever, early on. So we'll talk about Morathi here. Yeah, Morathi with some ogres. Nice to see. We've got 3 ogres. Of course, Dark Elves don't have any monstrous infantry, so it is an option for them. High Elves as well. Empire, obviously. Got a Cold One Chariot. Nice to see there. Spears, Sad Swords, Dark Shards. Good stuff, honestly. Really good stuff. The Chili Boy got a melee defense buff, so nice to see him front and center, ready to tank out some damage and dish some damage out. Up above 40 melee defense, which is pretty good. I mean, he's a relatively expensive monster, but still. On the flip side, ooh, a couple of Mournfangs. Wow, this is quite the crouching, hidden ogre force here with the Quaddle, which is very fun. As well as the Mournfang Cavalry with a Light Slan. Interesting. So my guess is here, Nets and Barona's Time Warp. Wow. That should be interesting. That is going to be quite the push. We've also got Red Crest in support. Red Crest got a little bit cheaper in the last patch, which was nice. They are quite cost-effective now. Extra AP damage from Frenzy was also a nice buff for them, so they are in a better place than they were before. Great weapon infantry also just in a decent place in general right now, so they're quite nice to see. Poison nerf did hit them a little bit, but they kind of, I guess they got both sides of it, right? Poison nerf, Frenzy buff. Yes, this is ogres allowed. That's this. They don't have to take ogres, but they are allowed to. And why wouldn't you? Because, I mean, just look at these lads. Look at the lads. They're here, ready to have a great time. They got their clubs out. Oh yeah, the belly plates. Head clipping animations. Just ready to go. Oh yeah. We're gonna grind them to fight. Oh, the Hidden Force is on the move. We've got this Quaddle here, and there's just tons of Mournfangs and Ogres. Some of the Ogres are going to overrun a little bit, get a little aggressive there, and reveal themselves, but that's okay. The rest of the force is still hidden here. We've got a little bit of breath attack from Chili Boy, just cutting through the center of those red crests. Doesn't do too much damage, but you do want to use the breath attacks. Nice way to generate a little bit of value early on. And it does look like all this does get spotted as well, just from the presence of the Chili Boy here. So the bolt throwers. Oh, but look at this ambush! Ooh, devastating ambush from some Chameleon Stalkers. This is actually very cost-effective use of them. They're able to push away the bolt throwers, almost actually get the crew. They're going to get countercharged and torn up by ogres pretty quickly. But that was a nice little get. I mean, he almost... right, one Stalker into one bolt thrower is cost-effective. So that was pretty close. Unfortunately, Ice Power on top of his micro there was able to save the crew from an untimely demise, but again, that's more so disruption. It pulls the bolt thrower from being offline during this kind of main approach here, so these ogres can start to collapse, and they are collapsing. Quite the blob here. Probably want to heal a couple of those units out and immediately push, try and get on these Dark Shards. Chili Boy's also, yep, exactly. Chili Boy's also going, and the speed buff here from Barona's Time Warp is going to be affecting them as well. They're up to 68 speed. Lots of extra melee attack. I mean, granted, they're going in to just fight archers for the time being, but immediate Soul Stealer being pulled by Ice Power here does hit basically all of these units, which is pretty unfortunate. It's going to do a lot of blob damage there. But let's see. The Mournfangs are also collapsing here. A little bit over blobbing, but they're countercharging these ogres. So ogre on ogre action. This is what we all want to see, right? Came to see ogres, and here they are. The Quaddle diving down as well. This ogre push, I think, is just a little bit concentrated. We do have some AoE kind of bunker busts going off. Some of the ogres were able to get through and get on this missile presence, which is what the Lizardmen needs. Skinks also sweeping up and around the flank here, but like these Mournfangs, probably need to peel out. The Quaddle is relatively healthy still. Nice placement shield of the old ones too to help these ogres try and sustain. There's no healing for these ogres, keep in mind, which you could do with a Life Salon, I guess, but the Light Salon instead pushing down a net. Big old net here catches a bunch of units, maybe? Oh, looks like it actually dropped, and unfortunately, a Terror Route takes hold as the Chili Boy side charges and all the Skinks. And, yeah, I guess the Immunopsychology is maybe what he was looking for there to try and hold them up, but the Terror Route does take hold. That's unfortunate, but Skinks did get into the back line. The Stalkers even come back here, and, like, the Chariots are having to play protection duty, so they can't really help. And suddenly, things turn around. The Dark Elf Ogres are finding themselves potentially caught out as the Skinks now countercharge in for a second push. Red Crest helping to clean up a little bit here. The Mournfangs also desperately trying to get through to the second level. Those Bolt Throwers still being online is a pretty big deal. We'll see. The Stalkers might be able to come back and shut them down a little bit, but some more AoE damage abilities would be nice right now. I think they're probably all on cooldown, unfortunately. But like we've got another Barona's Time Warp going in. Definitely going to help these Mournfangs hit a little bit harder, and they did get on the Bolt Thrower there to shut it down. Excuse me. But they're going to get terrified away. Not immune to Psychology, not the best leadership in the world either, so nice kind of presence here from Ice Power, holding firm. Got a few Ogres still holding the line here. And the Mournfangs are so gigantic. You can tell definitely there's an animation for them to have shields, which they do not currently have, but look for that once Ogre Kingdoms actually get released. A little bit chaotic here with the whole Ogres fighting Ogres. Hard to tell who's on whose side, but hey, that's probably part of the fun. Yeah, Light Slon at this point. Ooh, nice breath attack from the Chili Boy, keeping him speed debuffed. I mean, Slons are already relatively slow, but the Quaddle doing some nice blocking action, keeping the Ogres alongside this kind of critical rock obelisk thing that has played a crucial part of the battle here as well. Helping to block a little bit, but the Slon is in trouble. He's starting to take some damage. We've got rallying forces coming back, though, and the Mournfangs, again, trying to make one more push here. Still a lot of ammunition left on the bolt throwers, but the Stalker is just relentless, cleaning up one bolt thrower, and then probably... Ooh, are they going to move on to this next one? It looks like they avoid that banishment and instead going to turn to the Dark Shards here. Will it end up mattering, though, as the Slon takes tons of damage? Looks like a pretty decisive Soul Stealer going to go down right here. So, yeah, that might be it. I mean, some of the backline units for Dark Elves being closed out, but at the same time, the loss of single entities here, yeah, especially Slon shattering, is probably going to be army losses. But GG. That was fun. The Ogres did pay for themselves, actually, probably on both sides. Well, not quite here for Spud House. Yeah, just a little bit too concentrated, I think. He needed to spread his Ogres out a little bit more and try and occupy more targets. At the same time, it's going to be tricky. Didn't honestly have too many good answers for the Chill of Sontar. It's kind of a, you know, out of left field pick, some might think, but with the recent melee defense buffs, I actually really like Chili Boy now in this matchup, and some of the poison nerfs. It also makes, you know, Frostbite that much stronger, so Chili Boy shining bright here, and the Dark Elf Ogres able to hold up despite the support there from the Light Slon. I liked what he was going for sure, though, with the Baroness Time Warp. I think, I don't know, the Mournfangs also probably not cost-effective. If he had just a few more support infantry, or maybe even just regular Lizardmen cavalry, maybe this works out a little bit better. It's hard to say. Still, generally a lack of anti-large, and you could even just take like a, I don't know, Scarvet on foot or something to help supplement that a little bit, but... Oh yeah, I'm so excited for Ogre Kingdoms. Hey, what's up, Hunter? Ah, yes. That was a good time. I enjoyed that. Just ogres fighting each other is so great. Do I think ogres will be pre-order or the first? It's hard to say. Most likely they'll be pre-order, you know, given what we've seen here already. Although, I don't know. It depends. We'll see. I could see them being the pre-order, for sure. But I also could see them, you know, pulling something out of left field and maybe having them as the first DLC. I don't know, though. Like, why would they show it to us now is what I'm saying. Like, give us these actual units. Like, I don't think that Ogre Kingdoms will ever... I don't know. In Game 2, though, they totally have the Darklands there. They're, you know, way on the edge of the map. But I just don't know if it's realistic to think that they're, like, because one of the issues with Norska is, like, when they introduced Norska so late into the life cycle of Game 1, it kind of messed up Mortal Empires, and then Norska themselves were delayed even further past Mortal Empires, right? And they're still kind of not in a great place, so, yeah, yeah, being blobbed up right under the right under the Quaddle is a good. That's a good point for sure. Anyway, totally just lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, ogres pre-order. That's right. I mean, we'll see. I don't know, because of the issues with Norska. I could see them doing it as a Game 3 ad only. Maybe they do it for both, but I don't know. Basically means ogres won't be pre-order. I don't know. I could see them just not adding ogres to Game 2, like the full Ogre Kingdoms. Like, we already have some ogre units, and I don't know. I don't see them adding anything beyond that. Maybe just bug fixes and such, but hopefully. I mean, there's, goodness knows, there's a few bugs incoming. I could see them having... Yeah, they won't be in Warhammer 2, which, for me, could still be Ogre Kingdoms. Just, you know, we wouldn't get the full faction until Game 3, which would be fine. I mean, we're right up on the edge of the Darklands, and they might have intended at one point to put ogres in. I don't know. Maybe they surprise us again. I definitely didn't expect a dwarf rework anytime soon, but there you go. Yeah. Oh, Chaos Dwarfs. Definitely for DLC. That's 100% a DLC faction right there. And I think I saw somewhere don't quote me on this. You guys might have to find the post either on Reddit or on the forums. Somebody from CA, probably Grace, honestly, said no faction is considered done at this point, which is a good thing for sure. What it also means is like Tomb King's Vampire Coast, for example, hopefully will receive some changes. I'm also just totally showing the army comps right now. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Guess I could put a blocker up. New Ark of Sotek. Oh, New Ark of Sotek's very good. I haven't had a chance to use it in too many battles, but in testing, it seems very solid against Horde-centric factions. Like, you know, if Vampire counts, if that matchup wasn't tough enough already, now it's easily Lizardmen favored. And that's the thing, right? Is they could pull a Dogs of War. That they could, and that's what I'm saying. They could pull something out of left field. Like, I definitely didn't expect a Dwarfs rework, right? So they could pull something full-on left field and say, yeah, Southern Realms, and then Ogre Kingdoms will come later. But given that they have I mean, it's likely that it's Ogre Kingdoms, but I'm not saying it couldn't be anything else. Like, I definitely think there's a possibility of Southern Realms. The boy Justin. Alright, Justin, shout out. What changed? So basically they changed it from poison, which was useless, and it did a tiny bit of damage, to it now actually gives a damage over time effect, right? So you just have to pop it, and any unit that's within the contact gets hit by that damage over time effect, and it's pretty substantial. It's like 20 DPS, don't quote me on that, but depends, I think, because I think it's a higher model count scaling, so it probably depends on how many models are getting hit. But it does a pretty significant amount of damage, like maybe comparable to the Poison Wind effect. I would need to do some actual testing and see, but it's a similar type of effect, right? A damage over time effect. So it's, I mean, it's better because you're already getting poison from the skinks with jabs on the Howdah, and anyway. Nice. Tomb Kings. Yeah, so we're going to have some, as you guys saw, Tomb Kings versus Vampire Coast. Sartosa specifically. They said Mercenary Ogres are still missing a unit. Interesting. Norse Dwarfs, yeah. I could see them also doing another Norska, which would be a meme. That would be such a meme, but like a full-on, you know, Norska. I don't know, though, because I don't think they could expand it to a full thing for them. I honestly think they need to do a Lord pack for Norska in order to give them an update. But could you imagine how meme that would be? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, probably my top contenders, Ogre Kingdoms. Southern Realms is also a possibility. Maybe something like, I don't know, Norse Dwarfs, or there's some other potential sub-factions that they could call on, like, I don't know, I would need to delve into some obscurities of the lore. Like, Coast there was some basis for Coast, right? And Norska, I mean, a lot of those units are just from the lore, right? Like, Tabletop, there was never really a distinct Norska faction, but Koresh, maybe. Maybe. That would be an interesting one. Wow. Yes, right? That's what I'm saying. Dogs of War love mercenary ogres, so that they're a possibility as well. Although if there was ever a time to add Southern Realms, maybe it was Game 2, but I don't know, maybe you need all the assets for Game 3, because maybe you'd make them like a hilarious, you know, meme mercenary faction, which is what they are, just like random units, like, oh, we have an elven dragon for some reason, or all these different mercenary companies, or, you know, ogres, obviously, but like well-dressed ogres. Yeah. Anyway, probably update the scoreboard here. Yes. Wow, that is very terribly placed. Okay, let me fix that real quick. There we go. Alright. Needs to make Wurzak dance while stationary. I agree. Middenheim. I could see Middenheim being like a legitimate Lord pack. You know, another Lord pack for make playable Boris as a free LC. You know, maybe give some other free LC. Do an Empire rework, another Empire rework, and then give, yeah, Knights of the White Wolf, like Hawkland Long Rifles, some of the other missing units. Ah, yes. Wow, look at the ogres in this color scheme. Those are some styling rags there, boys. Lita here, High Queen. Priest of Death, got some wide ogres, supporting plenty of skeleton infantry. He's got some chariots. Ice Power was showing me very painfully in battle that skeleton chariots are decent now. They kind of retweaked some of the mass for chariots, that they generally work better. Heavy cavalry also works better. It still takes a lot of damage from great weapon infantry, but yeah. Blood Bowl, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Blood Bowl. You know, speaking of Blood Bowl, for a Dwarf DLC, fucking Death Rollers. Can we please get Death Rollers? Like, I want... Like, could you imagine, like, a unit of 3 as chariots? Basically, for the Dwarfs. Like, come on, Death Rollers, CA. Let's make it happen. That's my next crusade, is Death Rollers. We have a lot of the meme units. We got Pump Wagons. We literally got Ogre Mercenaries. Like, can we get some, Bugman. Bugman would be a great free LC ad at some point for sure, considering we already got his Rangers. Anyway, back to the battle here. Looks like these Shabti Greatbows are opening up, dealing some really nice damage. Sartosa didn't go all in for the Vanguard here, but I mean, Ogres are not that expensive of a target to be shooting at, so it's really not too big of an issue for the Ushabti. They're going to get engaged by some bats here, which is fine. Meanwhile, Skeleton Infantry is getting ransacked, and the Ogre's actually getting a really good charge here on these Skeleton Chariots. Another Ogre unit collapsing here into the center. They do have to be careful with the Skeleton Spears. It's not a super cost-efficient trade for them, but nice. What is that? Kraken's Pole? Pretty expensive spell to be busting on just a Skeleton Spear, but still might hit multiple units in this AoE. Actually does slow those Chariots pretty substantially as well. And the Ogre Man-Eaters, Pirate Ogres, yes, Spudhouse did it. Ogre Pirates and Pirate Ogres. I did this in an FFA and lost horribly, but it is definitely a lot of fun, because you see the Man-Eaters, they got pistols and pirate hats, right? So just look at this. Look at this glory. Never mind the Ogres fleeing in the background. Let's not pay attention to that. It's just, you know, little free company and big free company. But they are doing work, actually, right now. And the Ushabti Greatbows, yeah, as they should, are going to switch their fire over onto the Man-Eaters there. Man-Eaters, I don't know how much value they've actually got so far, but Spiteful Shot, wow, and extra powder as well to refill their ammunition. But they are going to take damage very quickly from the Ushabti Greatbows, so unfortunately the tide's kind of washing up here a little bit. Will the Man-Eaters try and get cover through the trees, perhaps? Or charge in, even? Yeah, they do have pretty good charge bonus, so maybe they're trying to take cover in combat a little bit there. Chosen of the Gods are somewhat interrupted, but the Free Company actually do get in a position to start advancing here. They could open up on this unit of Ogres, do quite a bit of damage. Ogres in the center are holding for the Tomb Kings. Nice Tide Call. It's going to do a little bit of damage then, do some damage to the skeleton infantry as well, but actually having, like, cheaper monstrous infantry, Ushabti are good, but they're pretty expensive and not that great a damage output, whereas Ogres, on the other hand, are cheap, great damage output, but a little squishy, arguably, right? So, kind of very interesting, very different units in that way. But the Ogres just being that much cheaper can help saturate on a wide line of cheap skeletons. Speaking of skeletons, these chariots are going to come through. They're not going to get the best charge because of the woods here. The Free Company are going to take substantial damage there, though, and perhaps get routed off. Arnessa getting ripped apart. Just the Ushabti Greatbow presence has been so strong here. It's been very, very strong. 3 Ushabti Greatbows is a lot to deal with. And Arnessa now going down, which is going to affect a lot of the Ogre's leadership. You can see the Man-Eaters over here also trying to hold. Spiteful Shot on them does give them magic damage, a little bit of extra accuracy, refilling the ammo. But Gunny here as well, charging in to try and fight, support these melee engagements. He can help fill a little bit more ammo, but Arnessa just gets straight up capped by the Greatbows. Oh, man. Oof, painful stuff. Yeah. Let's see, the Ogres still have a little bit of a presence here, or the Pirates, I should say. We're going to charge up through this small bit of woods here. Aspect of Dread Knight on these Ogres, and they actually cause terror and do terror out away the Free Company and the regular Ogres. That's about how it's going to throw in the towel there. It was a valiant attempt. So it's a tough roll into Tomb Kings with the Pirates, but it was fun for sure. The Greatbows, the Man-Eaters didn't end up actually doing that much damage to high-value targets at the end of the day. Probably just trying to get them back and onto the Ushabti Greatbows. I mean, granted, Ice Power did a great job. Even had a couple of reserve spears still protecting. But yeah, the Ogres, Tomb King side, get some decent value. Ushabti Greatbows definitely carrying pretty heavily, though. And the Chariots, Skeleton Chariots do pay for themselves. 114 kills, not too bad. Artos and Free Company paying the price of that. Some of them are decently cost-effective, but for the most part, I mean, Free Company, unfortunately, not the most amazing place right now, at least in this matchup. Lowish leadership, not that great at armor piercing. Like, yeah, the anti-infantry is nice, but they do get run over by chariots pretty hard. You don't really have any spears if you go with this type of a build, but it's definitely fun, you know. Credit to style points, Pirates, and Pirate Ogres. Yes, so we'll go ahead and move back over to the bracket here. And Ice Power will be advancing on to the final. Let's look at the other side of the bracket as well. Looks like we've got Anticity versus Suarve. So let me get that updated. We'll move to that lobby. Okay. Yes. Whoops, there we go. Super professional. Absolutely. Excellent. So there you go. We get the live feed swapped out as well. Reset the scoreboard, all that jazz. Okay. And they're on the correct sides of the lobby, which is just wonderful. And let's get Dancing Wurzag up as a blocker. All right. So now, yes, Anticity versus Suave on the other side of the bracket. Curious to see what these folks have in store for us. I expect more ogre shenanigans. They don't have to bring, but no, ogres are allowed. Any faction can bring ogres, you know, under usual restrictions of them counting as same units and missile units and so forth. But yes, you don't have to, you're not required to take ogres, but I mean, they're really cost-effective armor-piercing infantry. A little bit squishy sometimes. Leadership's not amazing, but I mean, they're less than 600 points for the basic ones. Insanely cost-effective. They can, yes. They can bring ogres if they wish. Now my scoreboard is misaligned again. Dang it. This font is not the best for a scoreboard. If you didn't know, kinda a little bit asymmetric. That's fine. Sometimes OBS, I honestly can't even. Okay. Arwar Razor Gore Herd. That would have been fun. That would have been fun. Never say never. I mean, like CA said, no faction is considered done, even still. The yeah, the ROR Tentagores, though, with throwing axes, that's a nice add. They're very competitive ability set, although they're pretty expensive. If you use them correctly, they can be quite good. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Bretonnia bringing some ogres, I can see. That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. We've got... So this is basically what I envision for Ogre Kingdoms. It's like ogres fighting with chaff. I like the pick of the Grail Relic, even though Grail Relics are one of the worst units in the game. The ogres lacking unit psychology and lowish leadership is not great, so this does actually give them plus 12 leadership, which is nice. And yeah, the immune to psychology as well. Keeps them from getting terror routed. We've got some Knights of the Realm here. Lewin leading the way. Damsel Lore of Life. 2 Grail Relics, actually. That is pretty deep. 1,000 points, right? Or are they less than that now? I can't remember, actually. Anyway, got a Jabberslythe here for the Beastmen. Morgar the Shadowgave. Looks like Bray Shaman Lore of Wild. 2 Man-Eaters Great Weapons. Interesting. So these are basically like better Minotaurs with Great Weapons. They're more expensive, a little bit more expensive, but I mean, they've got anti-infantry baseline, better charge bonus. They've got Ogre charge. Yeah, I think they have better melee defense too. Just better stats overall. Other than weapon strength, it's the same. So arguably less cost effective, but probably just better overall. Jabberslythe, like I said. Gore Herds, Blackhorns Ravagers, nice pick. That Perfect Vigor can come in handy, although they can also take a lot of damage. But let's see, Spears is kind of approaching. Trying to figure out where to strike. Probably just directly in the face. I mean, it's Beastmen. Not get too crazy here. Oh, interesting, though. I like the Holy Wardens as kind of the center peasant mob. I didn't catch that quite away, and I don't know if Suave did either, but wow, that is a nice, like, center punch. Everywhere else, it's going to be pretty decent. Like, the Ogres and the Peasants, actually, the Peasants really nicely done kind of eating the charge there. Lewin has to drop down, sort of prone, on the Jabberslythe, debuffing down to 18 melee defense. That is pretty good, but summon Cygor immediately. Jabberslythe, plenty of mass, can just pull out of that engagement. Meanwhile, over on the periphery, we've got Knights of the Realm trying to find an engagement. They're really not going to have too many great targets to go after, other than the Ogres. Oh, man. The Man-Eaters, this is a painful rear charge here. They don't have a lot of armor. They're going to take a lot of damage from those Knights of the Realm. Probably just got some really good value. Yeah, let's see. Oh, not too much, actually. Decent amount. I mean, I guess it was kind of their Ogres. The Holy Wardens also probably got some of that value as well. But nice Vile Tide there as Beastmen try and push, and they are definitely cleaning up this flank pretty heavily. Lewin's going to have to be careful. He wants to get back in the air if he can. There's Spawn Summons active. There's the Jabber here. This Ogre's collapsing, and the Peasants, obviously. Grail Relic's still alive, which is nice. It can help keep the leadership of these Knights up, but the Knights also, a little bit of miss micro there, not really engaged with anything, but still taking damage. More cycle charging over on this other flank here. Lewin trying to figure out where exactly he wants to go. The Holy Wardens facing the Summon Cygor, which is about to degenerate, so they can now come help clean this up. This other pocket over here for Bretonnia is looking pretty decent. Ogres are done for. Those Ungor Spearmen herd also pretty soon will be as well. Knights of the Realm, Earthblood there, nice little sustain. There's still some of these Spearmen in reserve and help act as a final meat shield if need be, and they are coming forward to kind of be that line. Whereas this presence here, I mean, there's a lot of units here for Bretonnia, but they could potentially get isolated if Suave kind of blocks and also pivots some of his resources over here. But right now, the Jabberslythe gets caught out. Nice charge from the Knights of the Realm. Does do a lot of damage to cavalry, but goes straight into the spears as well. Lewin's trying to get a rear charge, but getting caught up on one of these man-eaters. Man-eaters are sustaining here somehow. Where's that unit? Oh yeah, one of the units. Doing quite well, actually. Probably generated some really nice value in sustained combat. As long as they're not eating like a rear charge from the Knights of the Realm, it will obviously trade very well with that anti-large AP. But Lewin just steel chaired with Jabberslythe. That is absolutely devastating. The low leadership kind of Mortis effect is nice against Bretonnia in this type of a situation, but the Jabber here probably going to get routed, which is pretty devastating for the Beastmen. Ogre is still going to be able to fight for some time, and there might be one more pocket spawn summons. I don't know if I saw both of them yet. So we'll keep an eye out for that, but Ogres, just the Holy Ogres collapsing in. Man-eaters are still, yeah, they're still fighting. Oh, Ogre on Ogre violence there. Man-eater just smashing his kinsman right in the face, which, I mean, typical Ogres. I'd imagine Ogres are prone to infighting, as many factions are in Warhammer. Or all factions, I should say, just about. But nice general terror route for the Beastmen here as Bretonnia starts to just pull the edge out a little bit, largely collapsing, yeah, leadership for the most part, and just starting to run out of HP. Really timely rear charges. Knights of the Realm are able to bring it home, and the Ogre's actually on top of the peasants. The one Ogre, I should say specifically, that was fighting with the Holy Wardens, that was a really nice play there. I didn't even fully catch that, but I mean, you had all the peasants, but then the Holy Wardens, like, as a secret agent in the center, 1600 value. Oh, man. Wow, that is impressive. And then the Ogres, the one Ogre that was stacked on top of them, more than doubled their value as well. So, very impressive performance by the Ogres here today. That might be the game of the day for Ogres in terms of cost-effective value. That was quite impressive. Knights of the Realm also trading pretty decently, especially the ones that got in on the Man-eaters there. And just generally helping to clean up the Jabberslythe. There's some pretty decent targets to go after once the chaff was kind of cleared out. And the Ogres help do that to a degree. Yeah, Peasant Mobs also pretty cost-effective, generally. Your Men-at-Arms helping in the late game as well. Lewin not having to carry too much value, honestly. It was kind of that central push and break that ended up getting just a pretty decisive edge. I don't know, there was a few times where it looked a little bit shaky for Bretonnia, but the Man-eaters do pay for themselves, one of them, pretty much. Not quite, actually, but Jabberslythe also pretty decent here. Doesn't quite get enough time to drain everything, but infantry support also fairly solid. I mean, it's a pretty good build overall. I can't really criticize too much. The Man-eaters is just the one thing, even though one of them paid for themselves, they are arguably not super cost-effective. There might be better ways, but I do appreciate the effort for sure. Taking the Man-eaters in place, basically, of maybe where you would take Minotaur's Grey Opens, but I don't know. I'm not that big of a fan of Minotaur's Grey Opens in the first place. Maybe they're better with the Blood Greed now, but yes, it did. I apologize if you missed it. I put out an announcement. I don't know if it actually pinged everyone on my Discord, but yeah, there was it was like only like a couple days ago that I posted the sign up, but yes, indeed. An ROR peasant mob. You can make one. If you're Rapunzel, you can actually make a very scary ROR peasant mob. I had a rank 9. I gave it the banner that gives extra AP damage to basically double their weapon strength almost. And then like she has a bunch of buffs for rank 9, and then I would like stand her on top, and they could actually do stuff. Good fight units. Peasant thugs. What I named the unit actually in my campaign. Yes. Ogres will eat pineapple pizza. They will eat a whole pineapple and a whole pizza. And, you know, like a sandwich made of 2 pizzas with pineapple on them and several pineapples. So far, you think ogres are worth allowing in tourneys? Potentially. I mean, I don't know if it like, in really, this is granted pretty small sample size. Again, not that many people signed up today. I'm probably going to run another Ogre Open in a few weeks and see, can try and generate some more interest. But I don't know. For a lot of factions, it seems like it's maybe fine. Let's look here. Yes, Dance and Warzak for a screen blocker. Yeah, exactly. Who's going to let their centerpiece get surrounded? You mean, you say that. I have actually had engagement. Granted, it was a pretty weird engagement because they like both had infantry support. I had skeleton spears and a Kemerian War Sphinx, and he had Ungor spears and a unit of Minotaur's great weapons. And granted, the engagement took place in the forest, which means probably gives an advantage to the Beastmen anyway. Because the War Sphinx isn't fighting full strength, but yeah, in that situation, I did end up losing out. But again, kind of a little bit of my mistake taking the engagement in the forest. I generally agree. I think they trade very well into cavalry, and pretty much always have, as long as you don't eat a charge. But oftentimes, I don't know, like you have more cost-effective tools dealing with cavalry, and they're not quite good enough to punch upwards against monsters. Like, I don't know. It's a weird one. Yes. Yeah, it was a sign up on challenge, exactly. Well, cavalry so far has done okay. I mean, you can go back and check the last game. It was Beastmen versus, granted, I don't know if there was a lot of counter-charging by infantry, especially Great Weapon infantry, but Knights of the Realm there did perform quite well. They performed their function, I should say. Helping to support anti-large, helping to clear out some infantry. Aw, big sad. Which is the smelliest race? Skaven for now? Will be Nurgle, definitely, when Nurgle comes out, but Mino Shield, the best Mino. I tend to agree, just because the armor and melee defense and missile block chance really helps. Still, Ogres didn't get any shielded monstrous infantry so far, so Minotaurs with shields are still unique in that they're the only shielded monstrous infantry in the game. So, let's see. Anticity's going High Elves. I like that pick. Greenskins from Suave, which is also a good pick. And Great Book of Grudges coming in with the lore tidbit here. They do always do infighting, especially Bruiser hero type. Okay. Always bullied the bulls. Sometimes end up fighting each other. They eat the loser. Okay. Seems fine. Seems about what I was expecting. That is amazing, though. Wonder if they'll have some kind of mechanic where you can randomly get challenged and, you know, like, or eat other ogres or other characters for power level. Like, straight up, oh, what's the... I can't think of the name. Why can't I think of the name? Yeah, where you just eat... it's gonna bother me. Anyway, literally just ogres eating each other for power. Consume his energy and, like, or, you know, imagine you, like, beat dwarf character or empire character or whoever in combat, Greenskins character, you beat them in a battle, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna eat this character now to level up my own character more. You know, I don't know. I could see them doing some kind of mechanic with that. That sounds like fun. Yes. Eat them and hope they don't respawn back in 2 turns. Yeah, no, preferably it would kill them permanently. But, like how you can with Eltharion. Probably couldn't do it to legendary lords and legendary heroes as a result, but, you know, generic characters, even if they have the immortal trait, fair game. Highlander, but with eating, that's right. Highlander is the IP I was thinking of. Right, you just, you know, you eat them. That's the twist, is you just eat them. Yes. Yes, yes. High Elves with Ogres. This is another potential combination. A faction which is good for Ogres to take. We've got Ogres here, supported by Spearmen and Silverengard. Rocking their new unit cards, 3rd unit cards. Imric, the map-wide melee attack on those Ogres. Also, Lord of Dragons. Star Lance, right? So he can do some fire damage, try and Lance Grom. Healing for the Ogres. We do have a Man-Eater tucked in here as well. And, yeah, some Silver Helms, Reavers. What would happen if an Ogre would eat Grom, though? Right? That's the... See, now you're thinking like a scientist. There can only be one after dinner. This is a lore science question. We need... Right? Because they have an endless hunger. So... Oh, the screen. Oh, Dance and Wurzag. That's right. Wouldn't be a stream without Dance Warzag at least once. Yes, now you can see. High Elves. What I described. Yes. Ogres, Spearmen, Silverengard, Man-Eaters. Here's Imric. You know what he looks like. Yes, the blocker will be gone. No, here's actual Savage Orcs dancing. Not quite dancing. We wish they were dancing. Anyway, we've got Goblin Great Shaman here, a couple of Ogres. We've got Savage Orc Biggins, Goblins, some Orc Boys, Black Orcs in the center. Yeah. Just a couple of Ogres. Tasteful couple of Ogres here. I'm sure they're, you know, looking for something tasty. Fighter Riders, Wolf Riders for a, again, tasteful, modest amount of Skirmish Cav. Same thing on the other flank. Nothing too extreme. You don't want to go with like 6 Skirmish Cav or something insane like that, right? But, wow, that didn't do much damage at all. I mean, it did one-shot a model, I guess. But is that worth it? Arguably not. I don't know. Winds of Magic cost on that is not a lot. But, we'll see. Let's see. The Shaman kind of sizing up his options here. Orc Airboy is going to start to poke at some Ogres. Black Orcs should do fine here, honestly, but the Ogres are going to largely avoid them, which is the right call. Black Orcs are the best spearmen, after all. And, ooh, nice little shot on Imric there. Imric comes through. He's going to just charge straight up the pipe after that Great Shaman, which is definitely a dangerous situation for him to be in. Savage Orc Biggins, they countercharge the Ogres. They don't get best engagement, neither of them doing too much damage, actually, to each other. But over here, we've got another big pitched engagement. In the center, the Goblin Great Shaman is in trouble. Sneaky stabbing. Got debuffs on all sides. Dragonhorn being used here, so these Ogres get a bunch of extra melee attack before Wa kicks off, which should also give melee attack as well. But the Savage Orc Biggin Ogre combo here is just going to tear apart the High Elf Ogres. They are still low armor after all. Nice Fanatics cast as well. Fanatics do take time to charge in melee now, but did get that cast off to pretty good effect there on those Spearmen. Ogres also being collapsed, and the High Elf's numbers, even still with Ogres coming back to haunt them, as they just don't have the numbers to sustain, and they get enveloped here by the Greenskins. Wa being popped now, but they do have a break. Ogres charging through into the second line here. Looks like Green Scums are doing just fine, though, for the time being. Savage Orc Biggins are obviously just a hard counter for Ogres, and Ogres proving with the cheap support they can do well. I do think Silverengard, yeah, I mean, it's just a tough pull for the High Elves, honestly, even if you're going to use Ogres here, which you probably have some reason to. Arrogant elves must be desperate to hire ogres. Well, when you're getting invaded by Grom the Paunch, even ogres might seem like a lesser evil. Anyway. Well, in the pre-stages invasion, I guess this is technically the coast of Bretonnia, right? So, Goblin Great Shaman defeating an advanced vanguard of Imric. Something like that. I don't know. Rather hire Black Ark Corsairs? Probably. And as it turns out, the ogres didn't do much for him anyway, so yeah, man-eaters, again, just not super cost-effective in regular format if you don't get them in the right scenario. On the flip side, though, for Suave, again, we've seen this a few times. With the right infantry combination, like ogres plus Savage Orc Biggins is another one, like we saw again with the Battle Pilgrims. It can be a decent just punch, just straight in the mouth. I've got Black Orcs that did decently as well. Again, they can kind of just sustain, mostly pretty cost-effective. I mean, yeah. Not too much to say there. The High Elves going all in. That engagement, I'm surprised the Goblin Great Shaman wasn't taking more damage, but it was mostly just the envelopment, just the numbers advantage. I do think if you cut the Man-Eaters and just go with some Illyrian Reavers, this build actually probably works pretty well. You just need a little bit more numbers. Again, arguably cut the Silverin Guard as well and just take more numbers. Try and not fight greenskins necessarily on equal terms, just more cavalry perhaps? I don't really know. Let me know what you guys think. So, I have not been updating the scoreboard, but again, super professional here, guys. We do have a 1-1, though. Larvae bringing it back with the greenskins. So we will go to the ace match now on Estalion Tomb, right? Yes, that's correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I can't think the ogres would really find their way out. I mean, I guess maybe some of them would find their way to the New World, perhaps, but it's a long way. I mean, it makes a lot more sense for the Old World factions to be hiring ogre mercenaries, right? Probably not for the dwarfs, given grudge-related reasons, but mechanically it's awesome for the dwarfs to have cavalry, especially armor-piercing monstrous cavalry. Definitely helped me quite a bit in my Grombrindle campaign I played recently. Yes, I will troll myself once again with Dancing Wurzag. Not that it matters too much. We're all here having fun anyway, but... Lothern Seaguard versus Greenskins. Yeah, they often bring quite a lot of skirmish cav. It's true. Lothern Seaguard are generally pretty cost effective. If they go with an infantry spam, you can sometimes run into issues, but you can still generally get your value if you pick your targets well. Try and focus fire. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dwarves probably have a complicated relationship with ogres, like given the geographic location, you know, tendency to hold grudges, tendency to eat things. Rhinox versus Mournfang. You know, that'll be an interesting one. You would know better than me. What's the relationship? Are Rhinoxes even bigger than Mournfangs? Because they might even be, like, lower model count somehow. The Ogre Chariot. There is actually, I mean, you say that. There is actually an artillery chariot for the ogres. Like, no joke. Big old single entity artillery chariot. And, I mean, they also have some more potent ranged infantry as well. I mean, man-eaters are kind of hybrid infantry, honestly. Felcon was pointing this out. They have ridiculously high charge bonus for monstrous infantry. And especially, they might have the highest charge bonus of any hybrid missile unit in the game. I hesitate to say that, but perhaps. So they're definitely meant to shoot, shoot, charge, run back, shoot, shoot, charge, you know, break something, run back. Rhinoxes are bigger. That's what I was going to say. I'm not super familiar, but I want to say that's correct. I was thinking that was correct, but yes, okay. Artillery chariots. Yes, I hope for more artillery chariots, honestly. Oh, Lizardmen versus Tomb Kings, huh? Interesting. Warhammer 3 is about monstrous cavalry. It's about, you know, we don't believe in chaff. Monstrous cavalry. And yes. Warhammer 3 is about the spirit of forgiveness. It's about everyone being friends, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. From someone's perspective, at least. No, given that his friends keep dying of plague, that's another matter entirely. Ah, yes. Will we see ogres? For reals. In the real game. The games that matter, in quotations. Two hardy chariots. Yeah, okay. So they have more than one. Nice. I mean, we've seen... Yeah, we've already seen the corn one. We've seen bear sleds, right? I mean, technically we have the steam tank for Empire. That also fits into that category of unit, if that's going to be a category of unit now. We used to be only the steam tank. But, artillery chariots. The pyro from TF2. Oh man, that is a great reference. Oh, Pyrovision is the best. Oh man, I definitely play with Pyrovision. At least Mournfangs can defeat Demigryphs in the charge. Yeah, I mean, Demigryphs are more expensive, which is not great, but really, I mean, shouldn't be taking a charge probably in the face. Demigryphs also are just not in the best place right now as a unit. Yeah. I was using the Lance ones for a while. The Halberd ones have been okay, kind of subpar for some time. But, they definitely suffer from the cavalry issue. Can still be used effectively, though, in some situations. Yeah, Taurus. The relationship with the Greenskins Skaven is a lot simpler. Kill, right? Burn it with fire. Yeah, I mean, now that this DLC is done and dusted, and at least from a marketing perspective, you know, I would expect that we probably hear more about Warhammer 3 soon. Just given the way that their kind of marketing department has shown to work historically, like in the past, you can see pretty clearly, typically they only do like one kind of marketing campaign at a time. And so I kind of expected with this DLC that we'd see a lull in Game 3 news, and then once it's over, pick it back up. So I'm really hoping in the next couple weeks we see some more. Yes, Kelgar, exactly. I am hoping for a diplomacy rework where they kind of retool like what factions can initiate diplomacy with other factions. Because Skaven and Dwarfs and, you know, Greenskins, that kind of triangle, I mean, I guess potentially some Skaven might work with some Goblins on occasion, but probably not, right? I mean, I imagine they also hate each other. So that little triangle of hatred, would any of them be able to initiate diplomacy with each other? And, like, Empire engaging diplomacy with Norska, you know, there's just certain interactions which really, from a lore perspective, probably should be sorted out. And by sorted out, I mean, you know, war only. And then, on the flip side, some other interactions could be complexified, if that's a word, made more complex, right? Like interactions between, especially between factions of the same race, the same kind of overall faction, right? Stonehorns and Thundertusk. Okay. Yes, I need to look at these units. I feel like I've heard these names, I'm just not quite familiar enough with the tabletop units to really realize. Let's see what we got, though. On the Tomb King side here... Oh, wait. Warzag, of course. Still trolling me over here. Thank you, sir. Yes. Okay. So, for the Tomb Kings, got 3 ogres, Ark in the Black with some skeleton chariots, skeleton spears. We've got Chosen the Gods and Ushabti, regular Ushabti Greatbows. A couple of Carrions. On Lizardmen's side, we've got some Pterodon Riders, some Stalkers in Vanguard as well. Looks like Saurus Warriors. Saurus Warriors quite reliable here. Saurus Spears even, also pretty good, but... I mean, either one. Honestly, Spears would be slightly better against the Ogres, but... either one's just fine. Some ogres, man-eaters here in the center. People keep trying to make the man-eaters work. If I was playing in this tournament, which I'm not, I would probably only be taking the cheap ogres, to be honest. And we have to see the man-eaters pay for themselves like one time, but the cheap ogres, it's like, if they don't pay for themselves, whatever, it's still okay. They didn't lose that much value, but they can do a lot of work. They can punch upward very efficiently. The chariots, right? The chariots and the ogres just in a stack. That is a stack. 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack. They're ready to wreck these chameleons. And the Cohort of Sotek actually can eat that damage better than a lot of other units, but still not going to be great for them. Let's see what we got, though. You can see the Stalkers are discovered over here by these chariots. Chariots are going to not get the charge order. They actually had this charge order on the Cohort, so that's a decent catch by the Stalkers. And, yeah, the Ogres might be able to collapse, help shut down that one chariot there, but we missed the Ogre charge in the front line. Oh, man, what a travesty. Can help make up for it, though, as the Man-Eaters come toe-to-toe with Saurus Man-Eaters versus Skeletons and regular Ogres. This is going to be a pretty favorable engagement for Lizardmen, obviously. Also over here on this side, let's see what's going down. Yeah, Ogre's taking a lot of damage from other Ogres, and the Cohort of Sotek, the Red Pants Ogres versus the Blue Pants Ogres here, even though, you know, Red Pants Ogres are still also have blue on their pants. A nice little push, though, from the Lizardmen, actually breaking a number of Tomb King's units instantly. Not instantly, necessarily, but Ogres will rout. The crumbling units obviously will just crumble, but Krokar, big mistake here, gets caught out in the center, pinned down by Ogre Mass. Mortis effect, well, not actual Mortis effect, Leaguer Mortis from the boy here, Arcan, going to give some physical resistance, but just all of the fire from the Ushabti Greatbows, everything. It's too much for poor Krokar, and the Ogre is playing a pretty critical part in blocking him in with that mass. Man-Eaters just really aren't able to provide enough in terms of support here. The Pterodons do come down to shut down Chosen the Gods, and like these other Ushabti, you know, there's units close by, they're almost shut down, but it's just enough. Game of inches, as this game often is, or millimeters for you international folks. Centimeters, millimeters, whatever smallest unit of plunk length measurement that you want to use. That's how close this game can be sometimes. The Man-Eaters will continue to fight here in the center, but they're not going to trade great into this horde of skeleton spears. And as a lot of Lizardmen units start to lose out their leadership, it's not going to be great. There was an attempt. Balance of power still actually pretty close. A lot of that's coming from the Manticore summon, I would think. The fact that the... Oh man, there's this entire force here forgotten for the Lizardmen. That's pretty disastrous, to be honest. That is pretty painful. Ooh, yeah. Anticity might take the win because of that. I didn't even see those guys, and I don't think Suave did either. They must have just overchased something, perhaps? Yeah, that's... Ooh. I was wondering why the balance power is still so close, but... That's a tough draw there. Has a lot of value running off on the side, and Krokar just taking way too much damage there in the center from the Shabti Great Bows, who do pay for themselves. Doom King's Ogres, generally pretty cost effective. The Ogre Chariot kind of wombo combo here. The Chariots don't do a ton, but they do enough, obviously. Arcan doing his thing as well. Man-Eaters, again, they're just kind of here. The regular Ogres are a lot more cost effective, I think. Saurus don't get too much time to shine, although they generally are great in this situation. Yeah, Chameleon Stalkers. I don't know, maybe he could have ground that down, but I really don't see the Shabti still having a good amount of ammo left. The Chariot's mostly still operational. It's going to be tough for sure. But rip tactical reserves, right? Oh man, that has definitely never, ever, ever happened to me for sure. So, yeah, so we'll switch on over to the bracket, update that as we move on, and I prepare the scoreboard for the final round. The hungriest, you know, who wants it more? Who's hungry for victory? Looks like it's these two who will prove the ultimate big belly, though, in the battle of the bulges. So, okay, so let's see here. Get this all reset. Anticity is still on this side, which makes my job a little easier for that. Okay. And we just got to move Spice Power over here. And there it is. A little bit of Dance and Wurzag screen blocker action. Beautiful. Nanometers, there we go. Yes. Yes, yes. The final days of the Ogres. Looks like we're gonna have some these guys still getting their picks and bans locked up, so we'll see what they do, but I am expecting some Ogre action. Oh, that last series was a nice one. Painful ending for Suave, but I can relate. I've been there. It's a big oof for sure. But that's the thing. I guess they must have chased some Ogres off or something that I didn't quite catch, because yeah, they evidently ended up pretty far out of position. Which you know, against Tomb Kings, it's not a issue you have to think about much, right? Chasing routing units. But, even when it happens, somehow it's still more OP than other factions. No. Mournfang mirror match, that'd be interesting. Mournfangs against Mournfangs. You know, actually, it would be hilarious to try, and I don't know, you know, I'm kind of giving, if either of them are listening to the stream, take Orion, please. Like, if we could get some Orion Horn of the Wild Hunt with Ogres, because his map-wide charge bonus buff, I think it's up to 60% charge bonus or something crazy now. Like, the Ogres already have really good charge bonus, right? Especially the lower tier infantry for the cost, so imagine just a full-on Orion Horn of the Wild Hunt map-wide Ogre charge. That sounds like a good time to me. I want to try that now. I'm gonna go try that on ladder and send me a replay. Tell me how it works. I guess, yeah, you can't actually do that on ladder. Do it in a custom battle with a friend and tell me how it works. I see. Belly destruction. 36% of the spirit resides in the gut? Oh, it's 36% charge? What? No, that's not right. It was like 52 before. I'm a little confused, the 36%, but yes. Bonus to charge, actually good. It was. If they nerfed it, maybe it's not, but it was very good. For Wild Riders, 60%. Okay. Yes, 60% is good if you have high charge already. So you look at like Wild Riders, Stag Knights, the Dragons, you can get good value. Even Grey Eagles have good charge bonus. Like anything that has like 50 plus charge bonus, you can get good value. You can get ridiculous value, actually. And Ogres fall into that category, right? I mean, they've got, even the regular Ogre infantry are like 50-something charge bonus, I think, so. How did Archaon die in the lore? I think he got kicked in the nuts by Grimgor, if I remember correctly. Pretty sure that's how Archaon died. I'm definitely no lore expert, though. What do we got? Tomb Kings versus Empire. Bands, Counts, and Dwarfs going Empire Anticity. That's a good choice, for sure. Empire is another good candidate faction for Ogres, I think. Really cost-effective support units, great support abilities and spells. I don't think Ogre Pirates can shoot and move at the same time. I haven't tried, but I don't think they can like fire in advance in the same way that Free Company can. Well, maybe he didn't die. Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't he still alive in AOS? I don't think he actually died. Yes, that's correct. Blood Greed and Rune Tortured Axes are like the Black Coach abilities. Yep, you have to charge them up in melee, or like the Norskin and Rage, right? Or Rage, I guess it's just called. Yeah, it would be interesting if he got another mount choice in Game 3 at some point. It could give him the old tech list treatment, give him some stupid OP mount for no reason. Ah, okay. So it wasn't he headbutted him. Okay, that's much better. Potentially, Ant-Man. It depends on the spacing, but I think they can. If they can't, then that's something CA needs to look at, their line of sight issues, but I think they can. Pretty sure I've done that in campaign, too. Maybe I should do a campaign soon. The campaign's actually in a pretty fun place right now. Some campaigns. I've been having fun with the Isabella campaign, having fun with, I actually like almost finished a Grombrindle campaign. Chimera. Okay. That'd be cool. Let's see what they got. Getting a little distracted here. That's the thing, there's so much stuff they could add still. And I'm genuinely curious to see how they kind of handle the Warriors of Chaos within Game 3. Like, are they going to get some specific key units from the various Warriors of Chaos, or, sorry, Demons rosters on Warriors of Chaos? Like, are we going to see a Demons Undivided faction possibly with no Warriors units and just all Demons? You know, it's so many possibilities. Yes, actually I did. I'm currently sacking the donut right now. I'm in the process of sacking the donut where I left off on that campaign. But yes, I did actually catch... Malekith tried to do a, like, invasion of Norska, and I managed to catch him out at sea in a naval battle with Grombrindle. Both of these guys are streaming. Okay, so I really don't even need to bother with this then. It's just for me. I guess if they're both streaming, then there you go. No, Gromby does not retain Smoke Bomb in campaign. No, he does not. No, he does not. Grombrindle is still very good, though. His, like, his character-specific event has always been quite strong, and it's still quite strong. But, yeah. It's been fun. I do like the new Dwarfs rune system. I have to say, I've had a lot of fun with it. I do think you need more character runes in the late game. Some way to get more character runes in the late game. Like, I think some of the character rune, like, items should be repeatable, potentially. Because, like, right now, after I've confederated everyone, and, like, I have so many lords and heroes with 0 runes, because I'm not, like, getting character runes as drops. Or at least I wasn't. But, anyway. It's a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. Yeah. New rune of magic system. New rune system in campaign, right? The, like, unique grudges. Like, Grombrindle has a grudge, right, to win... You have to win 5 battles against High Elves, win 5 battles against Dark Elves. And so I was literally racing Grimgor to try and kill Imric, and unfortunately, Grimgor got him first. But I was able to fulfill the Dark Elf grudge, at least killing good old Malice Darkblade. Unlucky as he was down in the Isles all alone. Probably only mortal units for Chaos Undivided. See, but like for the Warriors of Chaos, like Archaon's Horde, I could see that. And then I could legitimately see them doing a separate Demons-only faction with no Warriors units. As a, like, you know, Warriors Undivided and Demons Undivided, like, as 2 separate factions. I could see that. Don't even get me started on a multiplayer banner system. I will go on an hour-long rant about how awesome it could be if they implemented a banner system into multiplayer for all factions, and then just gave everyone... You know, like you can pick 2 banners. Each army can pick 2 banners and assign them to whatever unit you want. And yes, there would be hilariously, insanely OP combinations, but that's the thing, is you gotta figure those out and choose for yourself, and then people figure out counterplay, and I don't know. If they did it correctly, it is an extra thing they'd have to balance, yes, but I personally think that would be something that, and even like non-competitive multiplayer, people who just play multiplayer with their friends, which is, you know, just custom battles with friends, or even like co-op custom battles against the AI, right? Like with the new survival battles we know are going to be in Game 3. Like there's even people who don't necessarily like play in tournaments or on ladder. There's a lot of multiplayer that goes on in those types of situations where it could be pretty nice. Yeah, it would be really cool, but I don't know. I haven't seen any indication that that would be the case, so I don't really want to get my hopes up until we hear official news. But Arkan the Black coming forward. He's going to get lit up by great cannons here. We've got the one great cannon. He's trying to come forward to Spirit Leech the great cannon, perhaps? The risking it biscuit. Got some Huntsmen as well. Ogres, Volkmar leading the way. Flagellants and Sigmar's Sons. Ooh, he's going for a summon. Okay, that's a lot of risk just for the cheeky early summon, but the cannon's actually not shooting Arkan for whatever reason. Also no Warrior Priest for extra flame damage, so he doesn't have to worry too much about that, but a nice quick summon just to kind of disrupt here, get some early damage on those Flagellants. We've got Pistoliers coming in from the wings. The Nekar Horsemen should screen them out. Doesn't look like any Ogres, actually, for Tomb Kings this time. Going with a little bit more of a serious build here. We've got 3 Skeleton Chariots, a couple of Ushabti Great Bows. I mean, against Empire, there's not really... Ogres would maybe trade good into Empire Knights, but I feel like you have plenty of other good tools for that. Flagellants are going to eat it on the chin right here, though, from these chariots. That's going to be pretty painful. Nice Burning Head does completely get one of these archers. Doesn't quite get the other archer. Might have if it got a little bit better RNG. At least clip the wing there, but that's all good. Chariots come in, actually get some damage on the Flagellant. Flagellant's also getting lit up by archers, which is not great, but the Ogres and the Flagellants now going to move in, so the Naked Bros, big and small Naked Bros, just, oh, look at the Ogres just pathing straight through like they do not care. Right through the skeletons, trying to get into the back line. The Ushabti Great Bows, as we have seen, will be a big issue, but the right now, Pistoliers are in a position to, at the very least, disrupt, try and fire in. The Skeleton Archers are forced to fire at them instead of at the Ogres in the front line, which is nice. Empire Knights getting a Spirit Leech, though, they're going to have a tough time. Nekar Horseman, slight miss micro just for a second here, and looks like Huntsman gets some really nice damage, but the Ushabti summon already being used. I didn't realize Ice Power had taken that much casualties already on the skeletons, but Ushabti pulled up on the Great Cannon. That's going to be a nice shutdown, help guarantee the Ushabti Great Bows can stay alive, right? So nice Ushabti synergy there. Tomb Guard here. Oh, I didn't realize there were Tomb Guard mixed in here, as they have the same unit card, right? Really hope they address that. But anyway, the Tomb Guard, yeah, they're able to hold there. The Ogres, the Swordsmen not quite there because they had dropped their attack order. But the Chariots so far mostly been managed. I mean, are still several healthy units here in the center. But Flagellants also haven't taken too much damage, at least for the time being. The Ogres are still pushing back. Here, the Pistolier disruption has helped. I mean, obviously, Pistoliers are not going to win that fight in melee, especially with the Skeleton Archer support, but at the very least it's bought enough time for these Ogres to get through into the second line and start to get these Ushabti Great Bows. And the Ogres are actually faster, yeah, same speed, but with the charge, obviously they can catch up. And the Ushabti Great Bows, not a great situation for them. Nice little timely rear charge, though, from these Chariots here. Probably going to break the Ogre's leadership, so what could have been an absolute disaster turns out to not be too bad. Nice little counterplay by Ice Power there. Volkmar still ever-present danger here in the front, though. And the Huntsmen are also quite healthy. Not really too much disruption. The Nekar Horsemen had crumbled away from the earlier damage, right? Yeah, so let's see. Tomb Kings are somewhat running out of flexibility, but at the same time, these Chariots do offer a nice mobility touch. You come try and shut down these Huntsmen, and the Ushabti, I mean, with that Ogre being shut down, there's not really too many Ogres left to try and push them in the back line. There's not too much imminent armor-piercing threat. These Pistoliers also maneuvering here to just get into a nuisance position, but really nice job, Skeleton Archers also maneuvering to counter. But, oh man, Arkan gets punched in the face by Volkmar here, and then he's going to move in to try and shut down the Ushabti Great Bows. Ushabti have had a lot of targets to fire at here, and still managed to retain half their ammunition. I mean, they've not had full firing time, it must be said, but there we go. Regrouped Ogres in the back line. Beating up these Tomb Guard. That's a nice isolation get. Tomb Guard, good leadership. They're not really going to crumble here easily, but, you know, just beating them down with sticks is a good way to go. The other Tomb Guard over here, same thing. They are actually crumbling. They will take some time to crumble. Actually stabilize there very painfully. But Ogres rallying here on the flanks, now coming in, starting to shut down some of these missile units. It does look like, yeah, with Arkan taking all of this damage, I didn't realize Arkan's just getting smashed in the face here by Volkmar with his fire damage and everything else. Spirit Leech on Volkmar, magic resistance will somewhat help with that, and the Ushabti also maneuver away. If they can shoot down Volkmar here, that is going to be good, but it looks like Spice Power pulling the cord, throwing in the towel for this game, and clearly not enough Ogres. I mean, that's the number one thing I would say, but in all seriousness, Ushabti Great Bows just didn't quite have enough time to do all the heavy lifting they needed to. The Nekar Horseman also, I mean, there was a lot to manage there. He was managing other things quite well, but it looks like the slip happened here, the Nekar Horseman not being able to shut down those Huntsmen. Both Huntsmen do pay for themselves quite well. Empire Knights also, admirable job. I always like when Empire Knights can generate some value, because they're generally just you know, glorified, expensive, armored, mobile meat shield. So that's nice to see. Obviously, great burning heads as well. Cost-effective use of Flagellants and Swordsmen for the most part. And then, yeah, Pistoliers, Great Disruption, paying the ultimate price, but there you go. Tomb Kings, the Chariots actually didn't do quite as well as I was initially thinking they would. I guess the Ogres were able to kind of counteract the mass of the Chariots, and also the armor-piercing damage, right, helps there. Yeah, Skeleton Archers, pretty cost-effective generally. They're protected, and they were pretty well protected here. The Tomb Guard don't quite pay out, but yeah, that was a fun one. Interesting. Anticity's Ogres did quite well. I don't know. Ice Power, I kind of get what he was going. Like, depending on how much Winds of Magic he has with Arcan, like, Arcan's also in a bad position where he's probably going to get killed by Volkmar. Like, he could maybe finish off Volkmar, but there's still a lot of Ogres left. Still a lot of Unbreakable Infantry, too. Like, the Flagellants, given time, will actually probably beat the Ushabti. Especially if the Ushabti are taking crumbling damage. But, yeah. So, Anticity's going to take the first game there with the Ogres. And, I mean, obviously, we all know the real reason why that game played out the way it did is because one player brought Ogres and the other did not. Banner of Eternal Flame exists, right? Banner of Eternal Flame is just an item, and like I like that as a sort of workaround for banners, like being able to buy them on characters. And there's other banners as well, right? Like the male Glade Lord has a banner. I think the Glady also has a banner. You know, you've got banners on various High Elf characters. I mean, as items, you can buy them, and they're just on your character. But I would love, you know, a full system to be able to assign it whatever unit you want. Artifact of the Old Ones. Which is the strongest race in PvP? It's hard to say right now. Probably still Greenskins, honestly. Oh boy, are we going to see a Bretonnia mirror? Bretonnia mirror. Yes, Ogres in a Bretonnia mirror. This is what everyone wants to see. Oh, man. I'm having a ball, guys. Hopefully you all are enjoying yourselves. This is a fun one for sure. Ah, yes. Ogre time. Yes, yes. This is good, too, because I have some family stuff going on later this afternoon. I was hoping this tournament wouldn't run too long, and I'm actually going to be finishing early, so that's perfect. Yes, sorry, just getting distracted here. Someone sent me some messages. Ah, yes. Ogres. Ogres! Let's see who does what with the Ogres. We can see Anticity, you know, clearly already with some Ogres here, but I haven't really seen too much healing of Ogres, I have to say. I mean, they're not very defensive anyway, so it's a little bit tricky. But, I mean, potentially like a Mournfang blob with Earthblood would be pretty good. Again, we'll come back to Wood Elves. Wood Elves, Mournfang blob with Orion, maybe? There's something there? Kinda want to try that, to be honest. Ah, yes. Speaking of factions that need a rework, Bretonnia in a decent place, but they are probably like number 4 or 5 on the list of like in order of factions. My general, you know, opinion is Norska's number 1 for reworks, definitely. I thought I had a clear number 2, but thinking about it, I mean, Warriors of Chaos, obviously, but I kind of just, like, discount them because we know what... Well, we don't know, I guess, so I should put them at number 2. So, Norska, Warriors of Chaos, obviously. Then... I mean, honestly, looking back, like, it seems weird to say, but Lizardmen, honestly, they need to retune the campaign mechanics on Lizardmen and kind of make things make more sense. Like, the geomantic web is just kind of there. Like, it's not a very good mechanic, to be honest. Sacred Spawnings are awesome, but they are lacking any of the DLC units. Which, I mean, if you're designing an overall faction mechanic, like, I'm sure there's a way you could figure out to have the DLC units be in there, only if you own the DLC. And just, I don't know, they have, like, several separate systems that feel kind of disjointed. And honestly, I could see them unifying, like, the geomantic web and the sacred spawnings and some of the other mechanics, maybe implement some new mechanics with items and so forth, with some kind of currency, right? Maybe you generate this currency by having geomantic web, and maybe you don't even have to build building, or maybe you do have to build building, but it's available at tier 1, so you can get benefit from it immediately, and maybe gives a little bit of growth, a tiny bit of income, and maybe a little bit of passive of whatever this resource is. So, a very good building. Definitely want to build in every single settlement immediately, which is the whole point, right? Is to level up the geomantic web, and in that way, yes, probably also still buffs commandments, but generates this other secondary passive resource, which you can then use to buy the sacred spawnings, which would be a little bit of a nerf, but then, you know, it's doesn't cost gold necessarily, and maybe there's an upkeep reduction or something. I don't know. You have more units, obviously, in there as well. Just add DLC units. Yeah. Oh, Dwarfs just got a decent rework. I mean, it wasn't huge. It was kind of more of a refinement of their existing rework, because, like, Dwarfs were one of the first factions that they quote-unquote reworked and gave them the runic crafting system, which is awesome. But, again, like, just more or less same thing that what Tomb Kings had. But now they've added in this additional layer of extra things to do. The like, campaign grudges, I think, is a great way, because a lot of people don't even play the campaigns to the quote-unquote victory conditions. So it kind of gives you some other goals to work towards in your campaign, right? And like, I think that's really good, the way that the Slayers, like Wandering Slayers, they kind of reworked the grudge mechanic, right? So and this is something I think that they can look at for other factions as well, which mechanics that are only punishing. I think there needs to be ups and downsides, right? So for, like, the Empire, I think, as another example of a faction that needs a rework, for the Empire rework, like, having low Imperial authority is bad, just straight up, right? But if there was some benefit to it, like with having high grudges, you get the Wandering Slayers, right? Let's say with, with low Imperial authority, maybe, like, wild bands of flagellants just appear and, like, fight whatever invaders are invading the Empire, right? Like, almost as, like, a religious kind of counter-reaction to whatever invasion is taking place, whether it be, vampire counts, greenskins, because, if you lose the capital of a province, right, then that you lose the Imperial authority, and, you have to go reclaim it and everything. So, I don't know. I just think that, like, that's a good example of a mechanic that was only punishing, and now it has some upside, so when you actually do have a lot of grudges, you're getting tons of free Slayers, which is awesome. Slayers are awesome, so... Real question, where is the Romulan and the Dav? Right? We should get together soon for this. Yeah, I mean, they could do more. They could always do more. And I definitely think, like they have said in the past, I don't think any faction's considered done. So dwarfs could be up for a rework at some point in Game 3. Like, especially relating to Chaos Dwarfs. I could see them around that time getting another update. But... Well, yeah, they have the banners now that can act as their unit only, right? They have the character runes and then the unit runes, which are separate. Characters get the character runes, right? But anyway, let's take a look here. On Anticity's side, we've got Ogres, Fey Enchantress, a little bit of a defensive box here, men-at-arms with polearms, pox arrows, yeah, Paladin and Gotrek, so just one Paladin this time with the Fey Enchantress. Grail Relic. Anticity seems to like the Grail Relic. I guess for the Ogres it does make sense. Help them, excuse me, stay in the fight. On the flip side, we've got more of a kind of wide build here from Spice Power. Double Paladin, more traditional, with the Fey Enchantress. A couple of tasteful Ogres on the flanks here, not too much. But let's see. He's also got Grail Knights, Grail Guardians as well. No Foot Squires, though. It would have been an interesting kind of counterplay, I think, to the Halberds to take Foot Squires. The Halberds, it should be said, are golden ranked. They're up to 50 melee defense. Men-at-arms here, 72 leadership. Some other, effects kind of going on there, but yeah, good stuff. Okay, so like a straight-up unit upgrade system, like what the Greenskins have, but with runes. I could see them doing that at some point, perhaps. Let's see. Peasants eating archers fire very cost-effectively. Ogres also pushed into the woods. I don't know if this is the best idea for the ogres to be taking a fight in the forest there, but a little bit of counterfire from Ice Power's archers. He does have a greater presence of archers here, which interestingly enough, shooting, he has a lot of targets to try and shoot at here. Like, the men-at-arms with polearms are good targets. The ogres are all good targets. Right now, he's trying to fight the archers, but he's in danger here. I mean, Anticity, all the Anticity needs to do is just punch the ogres straight in, and they can get these archers shut down in a big hurry, which he's not doing. I mean, their peasant mobs not really protecting. They're just kind of standing in the way. But we'll see. Ice Power is managing to pull his archers back there. Anticity didn't quite punish in time. I guess there's this big pitched force engagement here that they're both microing. Nice bombardment being dropped. Probably a little bit early. The Grail Knights are able to maneuver out of that, and the Ogres might rout here on the flank. A little bit of a weird engagement in the forest, but Spice Power potentially getting the better end of this. It's kind of hard to tell. The men-at-arms with polearms are an expensive infantry unit to be getting drained out here by the Fey Enchantress, and so far the single entity fight is just completely a wash. But at the same time, if this Paladin gets caught up and can't escape, that could be big, although it does look like he's able to do so. Archers getting pressured here, and yeah, this is what I'm saying. There's not anything protecting these archers except some fiddly little spearmen. I mean, the Grail Knights are able to come to the rescue, but they're a little bit late, it looks like. Yeah, a little bit of a panic countercharge here into some halberds. Ogres might be able to do some damage initially, but probably sustained combat's not going to favor them. But Ice Power pushing heavily on this other flank here, collapsing with these Grail Knights. The men-at-arms, golden rank men-at-arms are starting to give out here, although he is losing some of those ogres to archer fire. Both sides so far able to keep their archers mostly firing. Ice Power's having a little bit tougher time with this wider line here. But yeah, polearms fighting, polearms, wet noodling, quite some time. That engagement will take a while to play out, but Grail Guardians here in the center sustaining quite well against these ogres. They're also eating some peasant archer fire, but it looks like a nice dwellers below going to be used on the archers in the back line. That will basically ruin those two units of archers, so there's just the one left to deal with. Likewise, oh man, single entity fight, very important here that I'm missing out on. Anticity's Fey comes in and just gets creamed by the two Paladins and the red Fey Enchantress of Ice Power, and losing that Blessing of the Lady is significant. She's now down 20% physical resistance, so will be much more susceptible to damage, probably likely to come back from rout and still contribute to the fight, obviously, but just have to be careful about using her in direct combat now. You can't be quite as free. But the Paladin also a little bit over pursuing here, doesn't want to get caught out. Gotrek staying and fighting these Grail Knights. The right idea. Can choose some more models away there. Try and restabilize here. Ice Power had a nice little push in the center, but overall, Anticity's still got decent amount of units. He's still got this kind of pocket resistance right here around the Grail Relic. He's got the men-at-arms getting kited quite well. These peasant bowmen can continue to shoot them and isolate them, clean up that value. The Grail Knights and other units just pulling back out of the range of Anticity's archers, which is, again, probably the right call. Although he is kind of letting this one archer potentially get hit up here. Let's see, Ogre's not quick enough on the countercharge to actually follow up. Anticity not having any cavalry, I think it's coming back to haunt him here. Even just some mounted yeomen would have been quite helpful in seeing some of these Ogres off. But, yeah, the Ogres here in the back line, this kind of presence that did get isolated. Expected, or as expected, rather, they getting kind of taken out here. But let's see. Nice comet drop. Hard to tell whose side that was on, to be honest, but it does damage to both sides. Anyway, and yeah, Peasant Bowmen still firing point blank into these golden rank men-at-arms, which is really nice. The fact that Ice Power's Fae is also still quite healthy is going to be pretty critical here. Draining out those expensive halberds, the ranked up halberds, is going to be important. But let's see here. Anticity just kind of hanging back still, trying to regroup some of his forces together. He's got some more archers coming back. He's able to mostly push away the Grail Knights and the Grail Guardians from the forest, which, I mean, they really don't want to be taking this engagement anyway. And still, several healthy units of halberds, so definitely not out of this by any means. If anything, this grind fight will start to favor him a little bit because of the halberds as this late game goes on, and archers are starting to run out of ammo, at least in this one case. Still plenty of ammunition on these others, and given the lack of mobility here, archers could potentially kite the ogres and the halberds out, and that's all, you know, vulnerable to missiles. But let's see. Gotrek and the paladin pushing forward, punishing those Grail Knights once again. Peasant archers don't have much to protect other than all of this space behind them, so they're just going to run for it, probably. Maybe. Meanwhile, over here, yeah, the knights in the forest, just wheel them up and around. They can come back and probably help support this little counter push here. Anticity being pretty aggressive with the Fey Enchantress. He's got some ogres, got a handful of halberds. The Grail Relic also providing a nice leadership sustain. But let's see, there's still plenty of archers and a nice concave, kind of kiting here a little bit. Oh, and the Fey Enchantress might get caught out here. Battle peasants. Yes, the peasant archers being used aggressively to kind of pin the Fey Enchantress here. Ogres do countercharge in, as does Gotrek and the paladin of Anticity. But at the same time, Fey Enchantress takes a couple of hits, is able to escape. Now, ooh, this paladin's kind of getting punched on the chin right here. That's not great. And Gotrek also coming in with the steel chairs. One paladin gets ganged up on by Gotrek and the other paladin. Fey Enchantress also doing her best to contribute, but the ogres, wow, just like that. Ogres managed to help swing that fight, honestly. The little extra splash attacks there, the mass pinning things in, as we have seen, can be quite good. But interesting there, the usage of the ogres for Bretonnia. Yeah, interesting for Ice Power, Anticity not to take any cavalry at all here, and I think Ice Power potentially could have maybe pulled that back. It's hard to say. You know, losing the paladins is going to be pretty painful. Wouldn't have a lot to try and kill Gotrek, but you could definitely thin out the rest of his actual units, and maybe you have enough ammo left on these peasant archers to try and shoot Gotrek to death. Hard to say. But, yeah, valiant effort overall. What more can we say? Bretonnia with ogres. So let's go ahead and update the scoreboard here. And there it is. Beautiful. Yeah, one Treb would have been really nice against either build, it's true. Trebuchets aren't super accurate, but in that type of a situation, to pull your opponent into an unfavorable situation. Yeah, both of them honestly could have used like one or two yeomen, not even yeoman archers, just regular old yeomen. Yeah, you just missed it. Yeah, Bretonnia Mirror. We just had a Bretonnia Mirror with ogres. You literally just missed it. I don't think so, from what I've seen. Chivalry is dead when you can pay for someone else to earn you glory. There we go. Right? That's what I'm saying for Bretonnia. also, I mean, yeah. They tend to eat too many peasants, so it's tough to maintain them. Definitely eat more than peasants and horses. Sometimes they eat peasants and horses. Right? Dwarfs, ogres, peasants. One knight. There's only one knight. I guess if you count the dead dude being hoisted by his friends, there's another knight, but really just two knights. And elven waifu. Pseudo-elven waifu. It's quite the army, honestly. It's real diversity. It's real diversity right here in this army. Yes. Yes, yes. Like ice power's going. Dark elves. Banning wood elves and pirates. I know, right? See, that's the problem. When they start eating the horses, it's an issue. Let's see, ice power. Let's see if he can bring it back here. Dark elves, one he's pretty good with. It's a quite strong faction overall. So let's see what he can do. I'm curious to see, and in terms of counter picks, banning pirates and wood elves, both pretty good. Anticity going with lizardmen. Ooh, time to see some more lizards in action. Lizard's quite strong in multiplayer, so yeah, we'll see. It's definitely a faction he's comfortable with. Lizardmen's a decent matchup. It's not too one-sided on either side, I would say. Both factions have some decent tools. A lot of it comes down to play and targeting priority, and yeah, I do think this matchup got a tiny bit easier for Dark Elves because Poison nerf, Chameleon nerf, and Solar Engine nerf all like affect this matchup specifically. So, I haven't gotten the chance to play it too many times myself, but it does seem it maybe got a little bit easier. I mean, again, Chili Boy buff as well helps, right? The melee defense on them, just Hydras in general. And I think did Charybdis also get a melee defense buff? There were some minor cost reductions. The Medusa is still useless, but there you go. It's a good counter with lizards against Morathi. Saurus. Meat Grinder with Saurus. If he goes flying, you can use a High Slon with Tempest. Like, High Slon with Tempest actually very underrated in this matchup. Because Dark Elves will often go flying tools here, whether it's Manticores, you know, Morathi. Random Morathi can kind of heal through it, but you're forcing her to take damage in the process. I don't know. I mean, previously Chameleons were a good counter, but they're just that little bit more expensive. I mean, they're still a good counter, but a little bit easier to catch, a little bit less cost effective. But yeah, mainly because she's low armor, and like Saurus don't have the best melee attack in the world, but in a surround, even with the debuffs, they are going to be getting hits over time, and the hits that they do get will cause quite a bit of damage. So I've seen Morathi just get grinded down by Saurus. Yeah, obviously squishy against shooting, so any kind of shooting, which Lizardmen have very good shooting generally. She does have magic resistance, right? So, I mean, the Solar Engines will do enough damage. I think it doesn't really matter, but still see Solar Engines being very good here. Interesting. Yeah, it's quite the thought experiment. Marathi's Soul Stealer, just because, it might actually be a bug what's going on with the AoE abilities, because it does seem, I don't know if it's necessarily that it's hitting, if it hits a single model, but I think some of the area of effects are actually larger than what they're intended to be, for some reason. Like, I know for sure that's the case with the Flash Bomb, and I'm pretty sure that's the case with certain spells as well. Like, a lot of the buffs I've tested it with actually doesn't work for, unfortunately. But, like, Flock of Doom probably as well. Soul Stealer is one for sure that it hits a bigger area now than it seems like it should. Than what it did previously, I should say. So, yeah, Dark Elves actually got some indirect buffs because of that. I mean, they got some direct buffs to units, but they also got some indirect buffs. It was a good patch for the Dark Elves. High Elves, on the other hand, got literally nothing. So, big sad for High Elves. All the big sad. Even Wood Elves got some buffs on their Dragon's melee defense. Which, you know, they really need to do the same for High Elves. Buff all of the High Elves Dragon's melee defense by like 3 or 4. Wouldn't be a big change, but it would be enough to make a difference. Dragons in general are just not amazing right now, so like, what they did for the Wood Elf Dragons, they need to do for all the dragons. Make them better in combat. A little bit more survivable. Oh. Let's see. Like Spy's Power is ready to go. Anticity's still deciding on his army here. We're making good time today, guys. 2 hours of streaming. Not too bad. Hopefully all have enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun for me. Definitely one of the wilder tournaments I've hosted recently, and it's fun. You know, the Ogres, they add some extra flavor that's nice to see. Not anything game-breaking, I don't think. They do help some matchups, and yeah. There's some factions. Seems like it's nice to have them, for sure. Seen them put to good use so far. But that one Ogre, that one random regular Ogre unit getting like 1,200 value stacked on top of the Holy Wardens, I think so far is still the best performance, you know, cost for cost we've seen from an Ogre unit so far. So let's see if we can top that in any of the upcoming battles. Can Ice Power bring it back? He is up against the proverbial wall here. Let's take a look at some builds, starting with Lizardmen. We'll let the music play out because it's appropriate here. Double Ancient Sally. Wow, that's interesting, along with a Skink Oracle. So, a lot of mobile shooting single entities. Not as much range as something like a Solar Engine, but they're cheaper than Solar Engines and they have speed, also no HP, which is a problem. Yeah, Oracle is a little bit longer range, has the poison that they lack, the fire damage, so he can kind of dish that out as well. A little bit of healing for them as well. You know, good stuff overall. We've got Oxyotl up front, Chameleon Stalker, so very much a Chameleon build here. I'm interested to see how this goes. In theory, the Stalker's like shock damage is going to be good against Dark Elves, but if you just waste the volleys on Dread Spears, I don't feel like that's cost effective. And there are some Fear Spears. We've also got Scourge Runner, 2 Scourge Runners, and Sisters of Singing Doom, Witch Elves, Blackguards, 3 Blackguards. It's pretty serious. But there is a lot of shooting here. Oh man, yeah, this could be rough with the Ancient Sally. I was expecting maybe a few bolt throwers from Ice Power here, but given, you know, his build situation, I don't know if he has enough range tools to really contest against the Ancient Sallies, and mobility-wise, he definitely can't catch them. So, this could be rough. Could be rough. Anticity definitely going with a kite build here. Wow, yeah, to see it actually brought a lot of shooting units. I'd have to look. I think this is technically legal, but everything here has a ranged attack, which is kind of crazy. Oh man, okay, so not too bad so far on the Scourge Runners. I was expecting perhaps a little bit more damage from the Stalkers there, but Anticity, really no choice but to just walk forward and eat it on the chin here, and the Elite Infantry pick's definitely going to be rough, but we'll see if this sustain is enough. Oh man, is that a fireball? Nice fireball from the Skink Oracle, so lots of flaming shooting here. I'm surprised he didn't go with the Fire Skink. I mean, obviously Oxyotl fits the bill here, but... Ooh, let's see. Yeah, one Fear Spear already taking it pretty hard on the chin. Ice Power is going to make a push here, perhaps on this one flank, kind of concentrating all of his mobile units in one area. This is the right idea. If he can actually catch a few and start to make a break here, potentially roll up this flank. Also, like, things might seem a little grim, but he is dodging okay with these Sisters of Singing Doom. Marathi's still going to be completely healthy as well. I mean, Soul Stealer's obviously still huge in this matchup, so... Chariots do get home, and Scourge Runners, I mean, people often think about them as ranged units. Their range shooting is definitely very good, but they are still Chariots. So they're getting through, getting into this back line of Lizardmen, and just causing disruption more than anything, catching up a bunch of units. They have taken a lot of damage in the process, but let's see. Oh, the problem with all the Chameleons, too, is as they're retreating, they're going to continue dishing out damage, and it does look like that one Chariot is down. The other Dark Riders here, they have been routed off as well, so not looking great for the mobility of Ice Power initially. Nice Flock of Doom hits a whole bunch of units as they advance, so nice kiting so far from Anticity. But a lot of the Stalkers have used up their ammo now, and it looks like Ice Power is just going to throw in the towel. Yeah, I don't know. From a build perspective, I think he was picked into a corner a little bit there, and Anticity, I mean, I'd have to... This is legal, I think. I mean... Got 2 plus 4 at 6 range units. That puts you up to 9, 10, 11. These guys don't count as range units. So that's technically legal. That is under the new banner rules, and we'll have to maybe have a discussion about whether count some of these guys as range units or not. I've been kind of on the fence, and I've been leaning towards, you know, units with precursor volleys don't count as missile units, but I don't know. An interesting game. Like, granted, Ice Power is built, if you had some bolt throwers and just, yeah, not the elite infantry, just wider with bolt throwers, that could have turned out differently. But man, that was, build-wise, that was a tough draw, for sure. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe both of them expected ogres, and then neither one brought ogres, but Anticity's kite build just turned out to be a counter. Oof, man. Well, such is how it is. No ogres there at the end, but well played, everyone. Big thanks for everyone to joining today. It was a lot of fun for sure. Definitely had some great ogre play, and yeah, got to see some of the new Lizardmen in action. Yes. GG's indeed. Yeah, no manticores, right? The Chameleon Stalkers don't count as 360. They don't count as missile units at all, right? So even though they do have missile attacks and they do shoot 360, they do not count as missile units. And again, that's kind of a decision that had to be made about them. Like miners with blasting charges and skink javelins, I think also don't count as ranged units now. Makes this legal, but I mean, it's still an open discussion, right? Rules are still fluid, and we may take some feedback on that. I don't know. I still think it's probably fine. I think this build is going to be really hard for some factions to deal with, but I think Ice Power just kind of picked himself. Like, with bolt throwers, the Ancient Sallies aren't going to work. They'll just die super fast to bolt throwers. And, like, I don't think he'd be able to get close enough if Ice Power is playing his, you know, chaff line far enough forward with good mobility. It's just, yeah, build-wise, that was rough. Precursors count as half a missile unit? I don't know. Well, yeah, when it doesn't get hit by anything, it can actually shoot, then it's decent. I mean, it's kind of like the Gyro Bomber, right? I mean, both of them, they're even better comparison now than they were before because they're not too expensive as far as single entities go. They're not the cheapest, but they do have a tiny amount of HP. and a shooting attack. So if they can sit and shoot, then they will pay for themselves. But if they get hit by much, they're going to fall over pretty fast. Like in this situation, Ice Power really didn't have any good response. That's why I say like bolt throwers would have definitely changed the whole dynamic of this game. Yeah, just bolt throwers and wider with, yeah, no elite infantry basically. But hindsight, 2020. Yeah, people say dwarfs also got nerfed, which is just insane to me. But anyway, hopefully y'all have enjoyed. It's been a lot of fun today. The ogres in battle. So yeah, relatively quick one, which is fine by me. I can go off and do some family things. By the way, I did want to announce officially here, the signups are open for the 4th and final qualifier for South Sea Mercenary League. One more qualifying spot. So for those of you guys who want to play in a tournament, more traditional, I don't think I'll... Yeah, no ogres allowed, as that's been the case for all of the qualifiers so far, but there you go. Be sure to sign up a week from today, same time, same place. Be sure to tune in for that. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.